The Canary Caper.
By Ron Roy. Illustrated by John Stephen Gurney. Chapter 1. Dink Duncan opened his front door. His best friend, Josh Pinto, was standing on the steps. "Hi, Josh. Come on in," said Dink. "I just finished lunch." Josh hurried past Dink, wiping his forehead. "We sure picked the hottest day of the summer to go to the circus," he said. "I just took a shower, and I'm still hot." Dink grinned. "You took a shower? Let's see, that's 2 showers this month, right?" "Ha ha, very funny," Josh said. He opened the refrigerator door and pulled up his shirt. "Ah, that feels good. It won't feel so good if my mom catches you," Dink said. Josh grabbed the apple juice and flopped into a chair. "You're funny, but it's too hot to laugh," he said, pouring himself a glass. "Where's Ruth Rose? It's almost time to leave. She's waiting next door." Dink put his plate in the sink. "I have to run up and brush my teeth." "Forget your teeth. The circus is waiting." Dink grinned and pointed to a clown-faced cookie jar on the counter. "Grab a cookie. I'll be right down." Josh made a beeline for the cookie jar. "Take your time brushing," he said. "Don't eat all of them," Dink said, leaping up the stairs. Dink, his mother called. "Are you running?" "Sorry, Mom," he called back. "We're in a hurry. Thursday is half-price admission if we get to the circus by 1 o'clock. Dink brushed his teeth, yanked a comb through his blonde hair, then charged back down the stairs. "Donald David Duncan, no running in the house." The phone rang in the kitchen. "Got it, Mom." Dink grabbed the phone, watching Josh stuff a whole cookie into his mouth. "Hello, Duncan residents." Dink listened, then said, "We'll be over in 5 minutes." He hung up. "We'll be over where in 5 minutes?" Josh asked. "Mrs. Davis's house. You know her Canary, Mozart? He's escaped." "What about the circus?" asked Josh. "Half price, remember?" Dink shrugged. "So we pay full price. Mrs. Davis needs our help." They walked next door to Ruth Rose's house and rang the bell. 4-year-old Nate Hathaway opened the door. He stared up at Dink with huge blue eyes. "Hi, Natey," said Dink. "Is Ruth Rose ready?" Nate's lips, cheeks, and t-shirt were smeared with chocolate. He was holding a raggedy stuffed dinosaur. "She funked Fruz," Nate said with a full mouth. Dink laughed. "She's what?" Ruth Rose showed up behind Nate. "Mom, we're leaving now," she screamed into the house. Josh clapped both hands over his ears. "Ruth Rose, you should get a job as a car salesman. Then you could yell all day and get paid for it." Ruth Rose stepped outside and closed the door. "You know perfectly well that I'm going to be president," she said sweetly. "And it's saleswoman, Josh." Ruth Rose liked to dress in one color. Today it was purple, from her sneakers to the headband holding back her black curls. While they walked down Woody Street, Dink told Ruth Rose about Mrs. Davis's missing canary. "Mozart got out of his cage," Ruth Rose said. "I hope he doesn't fly over here. Tiger could swallow a canary in one bite." "Your fat cat could swallow a turkey in one bite," Josh said. Ruth Rose rolled her eyes. "Tiger is plump," she said, "not fat. Race you." Mrs. Davis was standing in the doorway of her large yellow house when they arrived. "Thank you for coming right over," she said. Mrs. Davis held a handkerchief, and her eyes were red. "I didn't know who else to call." "We don't mind," Dink said. "What happened to Mozart?" "After breakfast, I hung his cage out back so he could have some fresh air. But when I went to give him his lunch, his cage was empty." "I'm sure he's somewhere nearby." "Don't worry," Dink said. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose ran around to the backyard. Mozart's cage was hanging in an apple tree. "Split up," Dink said. "Check all the bushes and flowers." The kids searched every tree, shrub, and flower bed. Mrs. Davis watched from her back porch. "Any luck?" she asked Dink. He shook his head. "I'm afraid not, but we'll keep looking." "It's such a beautiful day," Mrs. Davis said. "I hope you kids have something fun planned." After we find Mozart, we're going to the circus, Dink told her. The circus? Well, please don't let me stop you, Mrs. Davis said. Mozart knows his cage. I'm sure he'll fly home soon. But Dink could tell that Mrs. Davis wasn't really so sure. Okay, but we'll call you later, he promised. They said goodbye to Mrs. Davis and headed for the high school. The Tinkertown Traveling Circus had set up on the school baseball field the day before and would leave town Monday night. The kids cut through a bunch of circus trailers and trucks on their way to the admissions gate. The sides of the trailers were painted with pictures of clowns, tigers, and elephants. They arrived 5 minutes after 1, but the ticket lady let them in for half price anyway. $1 each. What'll we do first? Ruth Rose asked. Let's eat, Josh said. No way, Dink said. You already had lunch, and you probably gobbled down half my mom's cookies. Let's walk around and see what's here. They watched birds do tricks, dogs ride on ponies, and a chimp dressed like Elvis sing into a microphone. They all gulped when a tiger trainer put his hand right inside a tiger's mouth. Guess the tiger's not hungry, Josh said with a grin. In Clown Corner, a clown dressed as a giraffe danced on stilts. He kept time to the music by snapping his yellow suspenders. I have to leave soon, Ruth Rose said after a while. My mom needs me to watch Nate while she goes shopping. The kids left, cutting through the town rose garden to get to Woody Street. Dink snapped his fingers. I just remembered. My mom said I can set up my tent in the backyard. Can you guys get permission to sleep out? No problem for me, Josh said. Nate's never slept in a tent, so I'll bring him, Ruth Rose said. And Tiger, she added sweetly. Your little brother, Josh yelped. Great, we'll have our own circus. A 4-year-old monkey and a man-eating tiger. Ruth Rose laughed. Don't worry, we'll bring our own tent. Dink and Josh dropped Ruth Rose off at her house, then continued on to Dink's. There they went inside and called Mrs. Davis. She says Mozart hasn't come back, Dink told Josh after he'd hung up. While they were pitching Dink's tent, Ruth Rose came over. Nate trailed behind her, dragging his extinct-looking stuffed dinosaur. Hey, where's your man-eating cat? Josh asked. Ruth Rose dropped her tent on the ground. She looked as if she'd just swallowed something nasty. What's the matter, Ruth Rose? Dink asked. Tiger is missing, Ruth Rose said quietly, and my mother says she hasn't been home all day. Chapter 2. Early the next morning, Ruth Rose poked her head into Dink's tent. Wake up, you guys! Dink shot up out of a sound sleep. Did Tiger come back? He asked, peering sleepily at Ruth Rose. No, she didn't. I'm going to the police station and I want you guys to come with me. Josh rolled over in his sleeping bag. To report a missing cat? No, to report a missing cat and a missing canary, Ruth Rose said. Then she ducked back out of the tent. Dink and Josh looked at each other, then crawled out after her. Ruth Rose was pacing back and forth across the lawn. Guys, it's just too weird, she said. 2 animals disappeared from the same street on the same day. Ruth Rose stopped pacing and looked at them. I don't think Mozart and Tiger wandered off. I think they were stolen. I'm taking Nate home, and then you guys are coming with me to talk to Officer Fallon. Ruth Rose woke up Nate, took his hand, and marched toward her house. Dink and Josh just looked at each other and shrugged. Then they walked into Dink's house. Josh poured 2 bowls of cereal while Dink ran up to his room to change. Loretta, his guinea pig, squeaked a hello to Dink from her cage. Josh was slurping up his wheat treats when Dink came back down. I've been thinking, Josh said. Wouldn't Tiger eat Mozart if someone kidnapped them both? Dink shrugged. I don't know. I'm not even sure that Tiger and Mozart were kidnapped, he said between bites. But Ruth Rose is our friend, so let's go to the police station with her. Ruth Rose walked in wearing blue shorts and a red shirt. You guys ready to go? She asked. Dink stared. He'd never seen Ruth Rose wear two different colors at the same time. He gave Josh a look, but Josh was busy reading the back of the cereal box and didn't notice. "Yep, we're ready," Dink said, putting the bowls and glasses in the sink. They found Officer Fallon at his desk. He was typing at his computer, chewing gum, and sipping tea all at the same time. "Well, hi, gang," he said, smiling at the kids. "Going to the circus this weekend? How about some free passes?" "No thanks, we went yesterday," Dink said. Officer Fallon handed Josh 3 tickets. "Go again, on the Green Lawn Police." "Officer Fallon, I have a problem," Ruth Rose said. He pointed at some chairs. "Have a seat. I'm all ears. It's my cat, Tiger. She's been gone for a whole day and night," Ruth Rose said. "She's never been away from home that long. Mrs. Davis's Canary disappeared too." Dink had never seen Ruth Rose look or sound so serious. Officer Fallon wrote something on a sheet of paper. "I think someone in Green Lawn is stealing pets," Ruth Rose went on. "2 pets vanishing on the same day is just too weird." "4 pets," Officer Fallon said. He opened his drawer and pulled out a sheet of paper. 4 pets are missing." "4?" Dink and Josh said together. Officer Fallon nodded. "Last night, Dr. Pardue's called. His kid's rabbit was missing from its cage. Later, Mrs. Gwynn called. It seems her parrot disappeared off her back porch." "All yesterday?" Dink asked. Officer Fallon nodded. "I was right," Ruth Rose said, jumping to her feet. "There is a pet napper around here." 4 animals disappearing on the same day does seem strange, Officer Fallon said. "In fact, I've already asked Officer Keene to look into it." He looked at Ruth Rose. "Could it be that your cat just took a little vacation, Ruth Rose?" "I used to have a cat who was a real wanderer." "Well, Tiger isn't," Ruth Rose answered firmly. Officer Fallon nodded. He told the kids he'd let them know if he discovered anything. The kids left the police station and walked toward Main Street. "Sounds like you might be right, Ruth Rose," Dink said. "Maybe we should go see Mrs. Wong just in case," Josh suggested. "People always bring her stray animals. Maybe someone found Tiger and brought her to the pet shop." Ruth Rose rewarded Josh with a huge smile. "Great idea, Josh." They passed Howard's barber shop. Howard was out front, sweeping his sidewalk. "Have you seen my big orange cat?" Ruth Rose called. Howard shook his head. "Sorry, Ruth Rose." At the Furry Feet pet shop, Mrs. Wong told Ruth Rose the same thing. "Nobody brought Tiger in," she said. "But I'll keep my eyes peeled. Mrs. Davis's Canary is gone too," Dink told Mrs. Wong. "And Dr. Pardue's rabbit and Mrs. Gwynn's parrot," Josh said. 4 animals are missing? That is very strange." Mrs. Wong glanced around her shop. "I guess I should count my own critters." "May I use your phone, Mrs. Wong?" Ruth Rose asked. "I want to call my mom and see if Tiger's home yet." "Help yourself," Mrs. Wong said. Ruth Rose dialed, spoke quietly to her mother, then hung up. "Tiger's still gone," she said. "Who'd want to steal a canary, a cat, a parrot, and a rabbit?" "I don't know," Dink said. "But we're going to find out." Chapter 3. The kids left the pet shop and headed up Main Street. They walked slowly, thinking about what to do. "I've read about scientists stealing animals to use in experiments," Josh said. "That's awful," Dink said. "I don't want Tiger used in some experiment," said Ruth Rose. "We have to find those animals. Where do the Gwynns and the Pardues live?" "The Gwynns live over by us, on Thistle Court," Dink said. "Why don't we go talk to them?" Ruth Rose said. "Maybe the pet napper left some clues." The kids cut through the high school grounds and past the circus trailers. A few of the workers were sitting at a picnic table drinking coffee. They waved when the kids walked by. "Which house is the Gwynns?" Ruth Rose asked when they reached Thistle Court. "That big gray one," Josh said. The mailbox in front said Gwynn in black letters. Ruth Rose walked up the steps and rang the doorbell. Mrs. Gwynn opened the door. "Hi, kids. How's your summer so far?" she asked. "Not so great," Ruth Rose said. "Someone stole my cat yesterday." "Oh, Ruth Rose, how awful. My parrot disappeared yesterday, too." "So did Mrs. Davis's canary," Josh added. "We just came from the police station," Dink put in. "Officer Fallon told us about your parrot. Dr. Pardue's rabbit is also missing." Mrs. Gwynn's mouth fell open. "My goodness, do you mean that 4 pets disappeared yesterday?" "We think so," Ruth Rose said. "Where was your parrot when you last saw him?" "On my back porch, in his cage," Mrs. Gwynn said. "Can we see the cage?" Dink asked. Mrs. Gwynn took them through the kitchen to a screened-in back porch. A cage stood in one corner. "Archie likes it out here," said Mrs. Gwynn. "He can watch the other birds in the trees. Yesterday I came out to have my lunch, but he was gone." Dink checked the screen door that led to the backyard. "Was this locked?" he asked. "I don't really remember." "We often leave it unlocked," Mrs. Gwynn said. "Could Archie have opened his cage door himself?" Josh asked. Mrs. Gwynn shook her head. "We always keep a clothespin on his door to make sure he can't open it. So someone must have stolen him," Ruth Rose said. "Oh dear, I don't like to think of crime in Green Lawn," Mrs. Gwynn said with a sigh. "Can I offer you kids something to drink? It's pretty warm." "No thanks," Ruth Rose said. "But do you mind if we look in your phone book for Dr. Pardue's address?" "They're at number 3 Pheasant Lane," Mrs. Gwynn said. "I dropped Mike off there to play tennis with Andy Pardue." The kids thanked Mrs. Gwynn and hurried to Main Street. "This is getting weirder and weirder," Dink said. A canary and a parrot were snatched right out of their cages in broad daylight, with people home. "And Tiger was probably in my backyard when she was taken," Ruth Rose said. They waved to Mr. Paskey at the book nook and headed up Aviary Way. 3 Pheasant Lane was a big green house surrounded by tall trees. A kid holding a tennis racket was sitting on the front porch. "Hi," Ruth Rose said, walking up to the porch. "Is Dr. Pardue home? We'd like to talk to him about his rabbit." "I'm Andy Pardue," the kid said. "Violet's my rabbit. Why, did you find her?" "No, but my cat is missing too," Ruth Rose said. "And so are 2 other pets in town." Dink glanced around the Pardue's front yard. "When did your rabbit disappear?" he asked Andy. "After lunch yesterday," he said. "My sister ran into the house screaming. I went out to the cage, and the door was wide open. Violet was gone." "Can you show us the cage?" Ruth Rose asked. Andy led them to the backyard. An empty rabbit hutch stood under a tree. "Was the cage locked?" Josh asked. "Yep, I lock it every night myself." Andy Pardue gave them a sharp look. "What's going on anyway? A ring of animal thieves?" "That's what we're trying to find out," Dink said. "Well, let me know what you dig up," said Andy. "Boy, I'd like to get my hands on the creep who did this. My little sister cried all night." The kids walked back to Woody Street. "Let's stop and check in with Mrs. Davis," Dink suggested as they passed her house. "We should tell her about the other missing animals." When Mrs. Davis opened her door, she had a big smile on her face. "Oh, I'm so glad to see you 3, she exclaimed. "You'll never guess. A man just called. He said he found Mozart. He's bringing him here at 6:30. Isn't that lovely?" "That's great." Dink looked at Josh and Ruth Rose in surprise. "I want you 3 to be here, since you were kind enough to look for him," Mrs. Davis continued. "Afterward, we'll have some of my strawberry shortcake to celebrate." "Super," Josh said. "We'll see you at 6:30, Dink said with a wave. The 3 started home. Josh grinned. "I guess Mozart wasn't kidnapped after all." "I guess not," Dink said. He looked at Ruth Rose. She wasn't smiling. "There's one thing I don't understand," she finally said. "How did he know who to call? How did that man know who Mozart belonged to?" Dink shrugged. "Maybe he found him near Mrs. Davis's house and asked one of her neighbors. Or," Ruth Rose said, "maybe the guy who called is the same guy who took Mozart." "But that doesn't make sense," Dink said. "Why would someone steal a canary on Thursday and return it the next day?" For the reward, Ruth Rose said with a frown. This guy steals pets, then returns them for money. Dink and Josh just stared at Ruth Rose. They walked the rest of the way home in silence. Chapter 4. Dink and Ruth Rose sat on Dink's front porch. They'd just finished dinner and were waiting for Josh. Ruth Rose sighed. Tiger hasn't come home yet? Dink asked. She shook her head. Cats can be pretty mysterious sometimes, Dink said. He wanted Ruth Rose to feel better. Maybe she's visiting a cat buddy somewhere. Ruth Rose looked down. She's never stayed away like this. Suddenly, Dink noticed that Ruth Rose had forgotten her headband. Her curly hair was hanging in her eyes. Just then, Josh came running down Woody Street, carrying his sketch pad. He jogged across Dink's lawn. Did Tiger come back yet? He asked. No, Ruth Rose said, standing up. Come on, let's go see who brings Mozart back. A few minutes later, they were ringing Mrs. Davis's doorbell. Ruth Rose had a determined look in her eye. If this guy has cat scratches on his hands, I'm calling Officer Fallon. Mrs. Davis opened her door, dressed for the occasion. The green gem in her necklace sparkled in the evening sunlight. I hope you've brought your appetites, she said. To help us celebrate Mozart's return, I've made some shortcake. Josh grinned. I might be able to eat a small helping. Mrs. Davis laughed. Oh, pooh, Joshua Pinto. I've seen what you can do to a batch of my cookies. They walked into the living room. Mozart's empty cage sat on the piano. It will be so good to hear Mozart sing again, Mrs. Davis said. The doorbell chimed. He's here. Mrs. Davis hurried to the door. A thin young man stood smiling on the front porch. He was dressed neatly in a white shirt, dark pants, and blue suspenders. The man held a small box with holes poked in the sides. I'm Fred Little, he said. Here's your canary. Dink looked at the man's hands as he passed the box to Mrs. Davis. Not a single claw mark. He shot a look at Ruth Rose. Thank you, Mr. Little, said Mrs. Davis. Won't you step inside? Mrs. Davis introduced him to Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose. Then she opened the box and lifted out her canary. Well, Mozart, how was your vacation? She gave the canary a quick kiss and placed him in his cage. Everyone paused to watch Mozart hop around, then settle down to preen his feathers. Mr. Little, I can't tell you how grateful I am, Mrs. Davis said. But how did you know where to bring him? Ruth Rose kicked Dink in the ankle. Fred Little smiled. I had to do some detective work, he said. I called the pet shop today and asked who in town owned a canary. A nice woman told me your name, so I looked you up in the phone book. That must have been Mrs. Wong, Dink said. We talked to her today, too, about Ruth Rose's missing cat. When did you call her? The man stared at Dink. I don't remember exactly, he said. It was right after I caught the canary. Mrs. Davis clapped her hands. How thoughtful of you to go to so much trouble. Will you accept a reward? Ruth Rose glanced at Dink with a smirk on her face. The man smiled at Mrs. Davis. You're very kind, he said, but no thanks. It's reward enough seeing your little bird back home again. Dink snuck a quick look at Ruth Rose. She looked confused, and Dink could understand why. If he won't take a reward, then he didn't steal Mozart, and if Mozart didn't get kidnapped, maybe Tiger didn't either, Dink thought. Then will you at least have a cup of tea and a cookie? Mrs. Davis asked. That'll be fine, he said. May I use your bathroom? Down the hall on the right, Mrs. Davis said. Kids, will you help me in the kitchen? While Mrs. Davis boiled water and arranged her silver tea service, the kids put cookies on a tray. He didn't take the reward, Ruth Rose whispered, frowning. I can't believe I was wrong. I don't know, Ruth Rose, Dink said. There's something fishy about this guy. Why didn't Mrs. Wong tell us he called her? We saw Mrs. Wong in the morning, Josh reminded them. Fred Little must have called her later. Yeah, I suppose, Dink said. But I have this weird feeling I've seen Fred Little somewhere before, Josh said. Around here? Ruth Rose asked. Josh shrugged. I'm not sure, I can't remember. What are you three whispering about? Mrs. Davis called. I'll need some helping hands in a minute. When they were all seated around the card table, Mrs. Davis poured 5 cups of tea. Are you just passing through, Mr. Little? I haven't seen you in town before. I'm here looking for a job, Fred Little said. So you might settle in Green Lawn. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Fred Little smiled. It's a nice town. He glanced around the living room. You sure have a lovely home, Mrs. Davis. Why, thank you. When my husband was alive, we traveled a great deal, Mrs. Davis said. We brought back something special from each country we visited. Fred Little left a few minutes later, and the kids helped Mrs. Davis clean up. Still have room for shortcake? She asked, grinning at Josh. Sure do, he answered, picking up his sketch pad. Josh began to draw a picture of Fred Little's face. I just wish I could remember where I've seen this guy before. Chapter 5. That night, a thunderstorm sent the kids running from their tents into their houses. It was still raining the next day, so they decided to play Monopoly at Dink's house. Ruth Rose, it's your turn, Josh said. I know, she said, staring out Dink's window. I can't concentrate. Tiger is out there in the rain. Dink and Josh just looked at each other. If Fred Little didn't take the pets, then who could it be? Ruth Rose asked. She came and plopped herself down at the Monopoly board. Dink thought a moment. If we could figure out why someone was stealing animals, he said, maybe we could figure out who was doing it. Ruth Rose picked up her stack of Monopoly cash. I still think it's for money, she said. When people get kidnapped, it's usually for ransom money, right? The boys nodded. But no one who's lost a pet has gotten a ransom note, Josh said. Not yet, anyway. Ruth Rose tossed her play money onto the table. I'm going home. Mom put an ad in the paper, and I want to be there if anyone calls about Tiger. The 2 boys watched her put on her coat and head out into the rain. I've never seen her act so mopey, Josh said after the door closed. She doesn't even argue with me anymore. Yeah, and have you noticed she's not wearing one color either? Dink pointed out. I hope Tiger comes home soon. That night the rain cleared up, so Dink and Josh slept out in the tent again. The next morning, Ruth Rose woke them up. She was wearing cut-off jeans and an old t-shirt. Her untied sneaker laces were muddy from dragging. Read this, guys, she said, and she shoved the Sunday Morning Gazette under Dink's nose. One paragraph was circled in red crayon. Dink and Josh stumbled out of the tent and sat at the picnic table. The paragraph was under local area crimes. Dink scanned it quickly, then read it out loud. 2 Green Lawn homes were burglarized last night, Officer Charles Fallon has reported. The homes of Dr. and Mrs. Michael Pardueey and Mr. and Mrs. Harvey Gwynn were entered by persons unknown. Several items of value were taken. Police are investigating. Dink looked up. Wow, first they lose their pets, then someone breaks into their houses. I think that stinks, and I think they're connected, Ruth Rose said. Don't you see? It is about money. Someone is taking pets, then breaking into the same houses. But why would someone need to steal a pet before robbing a house? Dink asked. And not only that, Josh added, but what about you and Mrs. Davis? Your pets disappeared, but your houses weren't broken into. He's right, Ruth Rose, Dink said. Why just 2 houses and not all 4? Ruth Rose frowned at Dink and Josh. I don't know, she said. We should try and find out. Let's go see the Pardueys and the Gwynns again. Maybe the burglars left some clues. They hurried over to Thistle Court and rang the bell. Mr. Gwynn came to the door in his bathrobe. Oh, hi, kids. Mrs. Gwynn told me you stopped by Friday. Guess what? Yesterday afternoon, someone found our parrot and returned him. Ruth Rose stared at Mr. Gwynn. Archie was returned yesterday? Mr. Gwynn nodded. To celebrate, I took the family out for dinner and a movie. But when we got back home, we discovered we'd been robbed. The rats took my coin collection. I'm sorry to hear that, Dink said. May I ask who returned your parrot? A nice young woman, Mr. Gwynn told the kids. She said she'd caught Archie eating seeds under her bird feeder. Did you invite her into your house? Ruth Rose asked. Before he could answer, Dink blurted out, Did she see your coin collection? Mr. Gwynn's mouth dropped open. Are you suggesting— Oh my, you could be right, he said. The collection was in the living room where we sat and talked. Do you think she came back and stole it? Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose looked at one another. Ruth Rose had her I told you so look on her face. It sure seems that way, Mr. Gwynn, Dink said. The kids thanked Mr. Gwynn, then raced all the way to the Pardue's house. Out of breath, Ruth Rose rang the bell. Mrs. Pardue came to the door. Hi, gang, what's up? She said. Ruth Rose asked, By any chance, did someone bring your rabbit back yesterday before your house got robbed? Why, how did you know? Mrs. Pardue asked. A nice young couple called and said they'd found Violet in their garden. They brought her home yesterday afternoon. Dink explained how the Gwynn's parrot had also been returned before they were robbed. Mrs. Pardue's eyes got wide. Of course. That couple came in and had a cold drink with us. Dr. Pardue offered them a reward, but they refused it. What did they steal? Josh asked. Several pieces of my good jewelry, Mrs. Pardue said. Some of it was left to me by my grandmother. Ruth Rose thought for a minute. Did they ask to use your bathroom? Yes, the woman did, Mrs. Pardue answered. She could have snooped in my bedroom at the same time. I feel so foolish. The kids said goodbye and headed for Main Street. I knew it, Ruth Rose said. The pet nappers and the robbers are the same people. Boy, what a dirty scam, Josh said. You steal someone's pet, return it to get a guided tour of the place, then come back later to take what you liked. Talk about a double whammy, Dink said, shaking his head. I think it's going to be a triple whammy, Ruth Rose said. What about Mrs. Davis? What about her? Josh asked. She hasn't— Oh my gosh. That's right, Ruth Rose said. I'll bet anything that Mrs. Davis's house is next.